Now there's one thing I want to point out right off the bat. If you see a question similar to this next Tuesday, okay? At the top where it tells you what kind of writing's going on, you need to pay attention. Hello? Sure. Okay. Trenton, you need to go over to the front office for just a minute. There's the test. Okay, so it tells you at the top that the student is writing a report about the Civil War. So the reason it's important to see what type of writing's going on, because then it can kind of help you maybe understand what you're about to read. Okay? Hey, Miss Ray. She's coming. Alright, so then it tells you what to do. Here's the problem that I've noticed some of my kids in my other classes doing. They're not reading the question. They're not reading what's being asked of them. And if you don't read what's being asked of you, then that's going to not help you get the answer right. So it says to read these two paragraphs from two of the student's sources. So he didn't write this. These are two sources he used for his report. And then answer the question. So 35 says, the student wants to show in her report that Pickett's charge did not have a good chance of success. So which sentence from Article 1 should she quote? So she's wanting to show it did not have a good chance of success. So does anyone know which sentence in here would support that? You've got on July 3rd, 1863, 12,000 men arrayed in a mile-long arc marched across a farmer's field. Does that show me there's not a good chance of success for this battle? Is there anything negative in there? No. It's not A. It was General Robert E. Lee's last desperate hope to win the Battle of Gettysburg. Anything in there sound kind of negative? What? Last desperate hope. So this is possibly our answer because of these words. So I'm going to look at C. Led by George Pickett's Virginians, the Confederate soldiers unfurled their flags and walked as orderly as they could. Is there anything in there that lets me know it's not going to be a success? Nope. This has come to be known as the high water mark of the Confederacy. Anything there? Nope. So, because of this negative diction right here, these negative words, B is my answer. That lets me know if it's his last hope, it's a desperate hope, it's probably not going to be successful. Okay? So you got to pay attention to the wording. Number 36 says, the student wants to include information about the impact of Pickett's charge on some of the people involved in the war. Which statement from Article 2 should the student quote to describe the impact of Pickett's charge on George Pickett? So, we're looking for how that particular part of the war impacted him. A says Pickett's charge is misnamed. Does that show us how it impacted George Pickett's life? The fact that the battle was misnamed. Does it show us his reaction or anything? So that's not it. Pickett's Virginians made up less than half of the charging soldiers. Does that say anything to us about George Pickett and how he was impacted? Or is that just a detail from the article? Definitely a detail. Years later, he died an unhappy man. What? Yes, no? Okay, let's keep reading. It was his wife, a writer, who turned his defeat into a glorious success. Does that focus on him or his wife? Not going to be that one. And then E says... Yeah, I know what you have. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Do you want us to come back around?
If y'all could come to me and like after you've seen other people, that would help me.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Had he read her description of the battle, he probably would have been shocked. All right, here's the thing. Here's the thing. It is going to be C. Here's why it's not E. Did he get to read the description of the battle? Like, there's no impact on him because when she wrote it, he is dead, y'all. That don't let this, he would have been shocked, fool you. Because that, we don't know. We do know that he died an unhappy man, and that's how it impacted him. It made him unhappy. Okay? So C. Alright, so what we're going to do today, you look at your learning target. Use details in a poem to draw conclusions about the action and determine the central idea. First thing we're going to do, we're going to do a poem and a passage together as a whole group because in case you see a poem next week, I just want you to see how you can answer questions about a poem even if you don't understand everything the poem says. So I don't want y'all to get to a poem, because sometimes poems can be hard, and sometimes we have to read them a few times to understand them, and you don't really have time to read them a few times. You don't get to annotate all over them. It's on a computer. But I want y'all to see that you can answer the questions without knowing every single thing about the poem. And then I'm going to give y'all a little passage to do on your own for like a little teacher choice grade. So there aren't any grades this week, okay? And there aren't many questions on it, and so I'm sure I'll probably scale it because they would count so many points apiece, and I don't want that to mess y'all up. Okay? So I'll be fair about it. All right? I'll be fair about it if people wake up. Just saying. Chris. All right, so this one we're doing together. Okay? What was this about wearing masks today? That's probably not going to apply at school, maybe, but I think there's a certain time of the day. I'm not really sure. Yeah, you know, that's when you're in an environment like this, when you're around lots of people in close quarters, school systems are probably going to still need students to wear it. Okay. So, this poem, y'all, is called Digging. So, when you hear the word digging, what do we think of when we hear digging? A dog digging, a shovel. Okay. So, we're going to read through it, and then we're going to look at some questions just, to see, okay, I can answer these even if I don't understand the poem completely. Okay? Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests. So this person's holding the pen. That's all it means. Snug as a gun. Under my window, a clean rasping sound when the spade sinks into gravelly ground. My father, digging. I look down till his straining rump among the flower beds bends low and comes up 20 years away, stooping in rhythm through potato drills where he was digging. Okay, so who's doing the digging?
The father.
The father. The coarse boot nestled on the lug, the shaft against the inside knee was levered firmly. He rooted out all tall tops, buried the bright edge deep to scatter new potatoes that we picked, loving their cool hardness in our hands. By God, the old man could handle a spade, just like his old man. So who would his father's old man be? His granddad, right? My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Toner's bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle corked sloppily with paper. He straightened up to drink it and then fell to right away, nicking and slicing neatly, heaving sides over his shoulder, going down for the good turf, digging. The cold smell of potato mold, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curt cuts of an edge through the living roots awaken in my head. But I've no spade to follow men like them. Between my fingers and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it. Okay? So he mentions the pen again that's in his hand. So let's work. Here's my other tip, y'all. If you get a poem, and then you also get a passage, I would read the poem first. Then I'd click that right side of the page to get to the questions about the poem. I would answer those first. Then go back and read the passage and answer those questions. Plus, that gives you a break from reading it. Okay? So let's look at the questions about the poem. Number 1 says, in the poem, what's the speaker doing as he thinks? As he's sitting there thinking, is he watching his father dig, helping his grandfather dig, taking milk to the peat bog, or picking up potatoes in a field? What is he doing? He is watching as his father digs. Very good. So see, you can answer that without having to know the big meaning of the poem. Okay? In the last stanza of the poem, what do the speaker's thoughts reveal? So let me remind y'all. Last stanza would be the end of the poem. Okay? Now, here, you've got 2 little lines, so it's probably all of that is what they're referred to. Okay? So he says, the cold smell of potato mold, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curt cuts of an edge through living roots awaken in my head. But I've no spade to follow men like them. Between my fingers and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it. So, is it he remembers a past era with regret? Here's my question. Is he remembering the past? Does he remember some of his past in this poem? Yeah, he's thinking about back to when he was a little kid and he would watch his grandfather dig, but is it with regret? Is he like sad, like, man, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that? No. So we can get rid of that one. He fears that repeating any past mistakes. Is there anything in here he says that he's scared he's going to repeat a mistake? Mm-mm. He does not want to think of his family. Does he say anything negative about his family, like he doesn't want to think about them? Mm-mm. He knows he's unable to work the land. He says, I can't do what my grandfather and father did. When he says, I've no spade to follow men like them, that means I can't do what they do. So, even if you didn't know exactly what this means, through process of elimination, that gives you your answer. Okay? So use process of elimination to help you. Did any of y'all use the cross-out tool yesterday when you were taking that? Okay, I think it will really help you on the reading part. Okay? Number 3 is also about the poem. With which sentence would the speaker of the poem most agree? So you got to think about our speaker. He's sitting there watching. He was watching his father dig, thinking about his grandfather dig, and he's got his pen. And he says, I can't follow men like that. Hard work is a necessary part of success. People are made to enjoy the outdoors. Thoughtful reflection can lead to personal discovery, or different generations may misunderstand each other. Is there one right off the bat you could get rid of? B for some of y'all, good. He's not really talking about going out and enjoying the outdoors. He's about working in the outdoors. Is there another one? Okay. Yeah, he's not talking about misunderstanding his dad or his granddad, right? Now, here's the deal. We had trouble with this morning. Hard work is a necessary part of success. We see his grandfather working, we see his father working. But is he focused on success, or is he just reflecting back on that? Because then you have thoughtful reflection can lead to personal discovery. Do y'all know what that means? If you reflect, what are you doing? Looking back. Good. And does he make a discovery about himself when he looks back at what his father and grandfather did? What's he discover about himself? He can't work the land, right? So I'm thinking this is going to be our best answer because that's what he's focused on in this poem. Okay? Okay, so the passage we're going to read is actually kind of funny because it's about this kid that gets an F on a paper and he's trying to get this teacher to change his grade and he makes up all kinds of stuff to try to do that. So, would anybody in here like to read some of this so you're not going to listen to me the whole time? Or so you can stay awake? Cortez, you awake? Chris? Okay. Summer is over. I hope I never have to live through another one like it. First, I flunked English. Then there was the break-in at the grocery store that put Mr. Kerr in the hospital and me out of work. And finally, a 300-pound goon tried to run me over with a truck. So we had a bad summer. Not right now. I'm not the scholarly type, so you may be wondering why I'm sitting here in the public library with a ballpoint pen and a notebook. It all started back in June on the last day of school. Mouse Brown and I stood by our lockers comparing report cards. I had an F in sophomore English, and so did Mouse. I knew my parents would have a fit, and I asked Mouse to go with me to see Mr. Singleton. I thought we might talk him into changing our grades. Mouse said nope. He said flunking English didn't make any difference to him. He said he was thinking about quitting school now that he had turned 16. He said he had a fantastic job offer, and if he liked the work, his school days would be over for good. I tried to picture Mouse working, but I couldn't do it. He's like his dad. I've never known him to shovel snow or mow a lawn or set out the garbage. His mother does it all. So I went alone to see Mr. Singleton. I found him sitting in his classroom, cleaning his glasses with his tie and squinting at 30 empty desks. Without his glasses, he looked 10 years older and very tired. The sound of city traffic drifted up through the open windows, and the room was hot. Thomas, he said, I know why you're here. You're less than satisfied with your grade. I am in a state of shock, I said. How many times as students, I am shocked I made an F, even though I didn't do any assignments. All is not lost, Thomas. Pull up a desk and be seated. We'll talk. Nothing is hopeless. That's what I came to hear, I said, and I sat down. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul. Mr. Singleton is forever quoting dead poets. He put on his glasses and gave me the same repulsive smile he always gives students who talk out of turn or carve on desks. It's the only smile he's got, and he shows a lot of crooked gray teeth. He's the only teacher I know who can discipline a student simply by smiling at him. Y'all ever had the teacher smile at you, but it's the kind of smile like, about to get you. Y'all ever had that happen? Not a sweet smile, but you about to get written up smile. You'd rather behave yourself than look at those teeth a second time. Mr. Singleton, I said, I deserve better than an F in English. I did great on all your tests. I know everything you teach. And here you flunked me. How can you get away with that? You flunked me. I was coming on strong and his smile faded. Please do not question my judgment, he said. Now it's true that you know a great deal about what I teach. But you have one great weakness, one vast flaw in an otherwise adequate mentality. What's that? You lack perseverance, my good young man. What's perseverance? What does it mean to persevere? To work hard, to try, to do things. I don't know anybody that lacks that. And certainly nobody at Demopolis Middle School. What's that? Perseverance is another word for handing in assignments. Would you care to estimate the number of written assignments that you failed to hand in during the year? Y'all think about yourself, how many maybe you've not turned in. I know I skipped a few, 10 or 12. Guess again. maybe more, maybe 20. But I had a job, Mr. Singleton. I couldn't always find time to do the assignments. Yes, again, 25. He opened his grade book and said, look at this, and pushed it across his desk. 47, he said. 47? I said. I pretended to be surprised, but I knew he was right. I had decided early in the year that I wouldn't trouble myself with English assignments because English always came pretty easy for me. I figured I could get by with at least a C by showing up to class and taking the test. English assignments, if you take them seriously, can really cut into your free time. He insisted I look at his grade book, and with a dirty fingernail, he was pointing at my name. Sure enough, except for the A's and B's I got on test, every little square after my name was blank, 47 of them. Those A's and B's don't average out to F, I said. I wasn't about to give up. Those 47 empty squares stand for 47 F's. A very low average indeed. Perhaps the lowest average in the history of Donnelly High School. Perhaps the lowest average in the city of St. Paul. For all I know, it may be the lowest of any sophomore in the Western Hemisphere. He was getting nasty now, so I decided to quit reasoning and play on his sympathy, even tell a lie or two if I had to. I told him my father would come after me with a leather strap, so he's saying my dad's going to beat me. I told him I might lose my job at the grocery store. My mother might die of grief if I have an F. I told him I might have to drop out of high school because I couldn't afford the extra time it would take to make up his course. When I got to the part about my mother, he realized I was fretting it on pretty thick. That's when he gave me a big, horrible smile. Thomas, he said, I have a plan. That F can be changed to the B you're capable of earning if you will write one long story in a mature style, free of mechanical errors. I will give you the whole summer to finish it. If you bring it to me on the first day of school next fall, I'll change your grade. But in the summer, I work full-time in the grocery store. I'm not sure I'd have time to work on English. If you wish to pass this course, you'll find the time. It's going to be up to you. It's your one chance. Well, maybe I can work it out. Just a story. That's it? Yeah, a story of some length. What length? 47 pages, he said, and smiled. One page for every assignment he didn't do. Okay? So, your question for this story says, in the story, which piece of evidence supports the inference that Mr. Singleton's physical characteristics upset Thomas? So, physical characteristics, y'all, that's what he looks like. Okay? A, I found him sitting in his classroom cleaning his glasses with his tie and squinting at 30 empty desks. B, without his glasses, he looked 10 years older and very tired. C, he's the only teacher I know who can discipline a student simply by smiling at him. Or D, he was getting nasty now, so I decided to quit reasoning and play on his sympathy. You've got to look at the one that shows physical characteristics. So it can't be, a lot of people want to pick D because it says he's getting nasty, but that's not a physical characteristic. Very good, it is C. He can discipline with a smile, and that kind of bothers Thomas. Very good. Okay, so you're going to now, this one does not have a poem, you're just going to have